Olympic ratings are tanking, and there's some anxiety going on with advertisers. They're beside themselves. We can tell them exactly why. I mean, it's not rocket science. Talk about that, and maybe if they're watching this, they'll figure it out themselves too. Start right now. Hello, my name is Kyle, and welcome to the channel. If this is your first time here, please consider liking and subscribing. Now, in this video, the Olympics, the ratings are tanking, and yes, the advertisers are feeling anxiety. Absolutely. And so the problem with it is essentially that the advertisers don't realize that if you alienate half of your audience, mathematically speaking, you're going to get less than half your money. You know, that's mathematics. So, but now they're really feeling it because with everything going on around the world and the woke politics and people not wanting to be associated with that at all, tuning this thing out altogether. You have people who are playing for America in particular, who is a huge market for the Olympics, who are dissing the country, saying that America is the reason for the world's ills. Well, why would they want to watch that to see protests that are going to happen for a country that they love? Now, again, the Olympic Committee said that they weren't going to allow that, but then they relaxed that. And then you had some protests happen. And individually, you saw different teams say that they were not going to do it. But who can trust them? And so who wants to watch that? And the whole climate, the whole sentiment is just something that is just a big put off, especially in the climate that we have right now when everything is woke and is embarrassingly hard to watch. So let's take a look here. We're coming to you from Outkick.com. We are pointing to an article from theconservativetake.com. Quick plug there. If you haven't been there, check out theconservativetake.com. We have a bunch of articles that are coming in from various outlets. We consolidate those articles from around the world. We bring them together as it relates to pop culture and politics and filtering it in a conservative manner, filtering it right. So that's my plug there for the Conservative Take. Let's go forward here. Here's the article. This is from Outkick. The Olympic ratings tank causing advertiser anxiety. Half of the nation isn't pleased with America. The different half dislikes the politicization of occasions just like the Olympics. Couple the two, and you've got a rankings catastrophe for the 2021 Tokyo Olympics. Really, it's the 2020 Tokyo Olympics technically because we are a year past the whatever. Anyway, it's 2021. The reason why is because, look, half the country doesn't like the wokeness in the politics, and the other half of the country, well, I would say less than half the country, maybe a third of the country, the ultra woke left, hates America, or at least the America that we see today that's being deteriorated before our very eyes. The principles of America is what they ultimately hate. They're not going to watch it. And so what does that leave? 30% roughly? It says here the NBC's primetime protection of the Tokyo Olympics continued to tank on Monday, averaging 14.7 million viewers at a 49% drop from the equal evening from the 2016 Rio de Janeiro Games. Even extra alarming, the declines have been extra important with the essential demographic of adults aged 48 through 49. So here we're seeing a 50% drop from 2016. Now I know people are going to say there's various reasons for that. There's various reasons they're going to say because of other issues, particularly when it comes to streaming services, people cutting the ties to cable. And I would definitely say that's going to have a factor. But 50% in an era when people have been locked down looking for anything to watch, just for myself personally, I love the Olympics, especially growing up in the 80s, literally watching Lake Placid, watching the Americans win the gold medal over Russia in that semifinal match, go on to win against Finland. That was one of the most memorable moments of my life from a sports standpoint. And just being able to watch all the games now, because I remember back then growing up, you couldn't watch all the games. You had to wait until prime time for those games to come on, and then they would only show you what you only see what you want to see. You would never see table tennis, which I love. You would never see hardly games like curling. But now you can watch any game you want, and yet you're still telling me that the ratings are down 50% in an era when people have nothing to do in terms of entertainment? That's because people value their principles, their ethics, their morals, their countries more than they value seeing people disrespect those said things. That's my opinion. That is for me personally, but I'm pretty sure I fall squarely in that 49% drop from 2016. So, no, it's not just the cutting of the ties, it's other things as well. As an end result, Variety reported that NBC's prime sponsors now have a case of advertiser anxiety. That means advertisers who spent all this money to put their products before people aren't getting value for their money. I know Toyota is having a big issue. I read an article, I don't have it here in front of me, that they are not going to advertise in Japan. Toyota, a Japanese company, is not going to advertise in Japan. If I get that clip, I'll put it up on the screen here. So advertisers in general are having a hard time. Also, I read that Japan, in terms of their attendance, are going to lose upwards of $800 million in lost revenue from people not being in the stands. But that in and of itself is bad, because that means that people on the street aren't going to be around. There's not going to be any bars open or restaurants are going to get that uptick. Advertisers on the street aren't going to have those eyeballs walking back and forth. So that's just locally in Japan. But also, it plays down to people watching it on TV. Who wants to see an empty stadium? And so all of this comes into play. But ultimately, I think everything being equal, I think that number would be a lot lower if America and other countries would get away from this woke mentality in their sports. People just do not want any part of it. So these viewership declines are more complex than declines in other TV programming. First, certain problems have plagued all TV: cord cutting, Netflix, social media, YouTube clips, and decreasing attention spans, as I mentioned before. On top of that, there's a political divide, which I think is the main reason, which is now front and center at a world event. Anything that represents America is now controversial, and that's the problem. The US flag triggers the left, while the social stances of some athletes turn off the right. Thus, almost everyone has lost interest in the games. American viewers don't care if the team wins or loses anymore, so fewer and fewer of them are watching. Now, believe me when I say this, I didn't know this part until I read this just now, but it's pretty obvious. I mean, when you see what's going on, the left hates America and the right doesn't like you disrespecting America, so that cuts out a huge majority, and there's your 49%. I would say again, you're going to have a decline because of the things they said here before about cord cutting and so forth. But again, it's going to be a much more narrow divide there because of the lockdowns. You don't see stuff like rhythmic gymnastics or archery on a common basis here in America. So you get a chance to just go through and watch a smorgasbord of sporting events at the highest level, yet people are choosing not to. That should tell you everything you need to know, especially in the climate of the lockdowns, which I mentioned before. So what do you think? Do you have any plans on watching the Olympics? And what do you think about the ratings going down into the toilet? And if you were to watch the Olympics, what would it take for you to come back to watch it? And is there any climate thing that could change quickly that could do it? Or is it going to be a decade or more to get people to come back, if ever? I'm curious to know what you think. I have my ideas that I'm going to share with you, probably in a community post in the future. But for now, I'm curious to know what you think. And so please comment below. I'd be curious to know, again, what you think. And if you like what we do in this channel, we take pop culture and politics and filter it to you in a conservative manner. In other words, filter to you right. Then please click the like and subscribe button and that bell icon so you don't miss any future content. And also, there's a join button there that you can click to find out how to support this channel. And also, if you enjoy content on this channel, we have some videos picked out for you right